My name is Ruth Carter and I am guest editor at Exhibition News. So with our industry going through a rapid pace of change at the moment, it is inevitable that the skill sets we need are also going to be developing and changing. And so today I wanted to explore those changes by talking with Claire Washington-Smith, who's chair, and Donna Shaw, who's chief operating officer from Rego. Rego is the evolution of Shinesmith, Smooth Live, and the training and coaching arm, the Shinesmith Academy. And they are based in the UK and the UAE. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you, Ruth. Hi.
So, ladies, whilst we know that Rego isn't just a training organisation, as it also covers staffing solutions and sales solutions and a number of other things, today we're going to focus purely on the training side. And you are already knee-deep in the exhibition industry, but most recently you've been leading all the training for the Women in Exhibitions network. So thank you very much for that. Some fantastic stuff coming out of that. First question then is, what are the big trends that you've seen over the last 12 months? How have you seen the training needs that companies are talking to you about changing?
I think for myself personally and for us as a business, the training needs where we just used to deliver what I call static sales training at an exhibition or when you're in office, even when we work in the public sector, that is completely switched now because there's quite a gap on how you deliver a sales training course about how you are going to sell virtual and hybrid, and whether we like it or not, it is not going to leave us. And to be able to upskill is quite a big change. You're not just in the office, you're not just selling your stand space, just basic sponsorship, in the old-fashioned way. Now you've actually got to convince your customers or your exhibitors to be on this journey, which is going to be all year round. So to recognize that you're going to give them more value, the little sort of problem that you're having at the moment, or people are having, is the fact that a lot of people don't value the virtual and the hybrid as they do as an in-person exhibition. So they think, if I'm not there in person, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to get the leads. It's about reevaluating what actually extra virtual and hybrid can give. But that takes a different way of training. It's a different sales. You've got to be able to learn. You've got to have tech knowledge. You've got to learn what that experience. You've got to relate to your exhibitor or customer what that experience is going to deliver for them, because that's what they're interested in. And during the last sort of few months, there's been so many Zooms and webinars that haven't been delivered great, and they're going, well, if it's virtual, I'm not interested. I'll just come to the show, but the show could be smaller. How are you going to deliver that value?
Non-existent. So,
Absolutely. So they have got to be able to sell the value of virtual and hybrid, because when it's done successfully, it does deliver value. It delivers portals that you can pop in and out and change all year round. And the exhibitor companies now are building webinars and virtual showrooms. So the sales cycle is not just at the exhibition. It can be open all year. So it's a lot more of an interactive way of dealing with your customer.
I think the other element to look at with training, which is perhaps something that people hadn't thought of before, and obviously before this whole pandemic time when everyone is now working from home, is the mental health side of things. And there is a statistic that says 51% of employees are struggling in some way or another. So it's not just addressing their mental health about working from home, and there's some training needed for that. There is a specific skill set needed to be able to deal with that, but it's also addressing their leaders, their leadership teams, their CEOs, who are also working from home, but having to mentor and manage and support their teams remotely. And it's a new skill set for a lot of people, something that we're very used to because we have done that throughout our businesses. And being able to train people is key in that, and getting these coping mechanisms and dealing with issues such as presenteeism, leaveism, absenteeism, all the isms that we talk about out there. But these are known problems and known issues. So training people to deal with these issues is very important.
It's absolutely fascinating about bringing people back into the workplace, because we saw a year ago everyone delighted to be working from home.
Yes.
And we're finding there is that, from what you're saying, there is that shift. There is a conversation I was having the other day, slightly tangent. One of the great advantages of this enforced home working, from a diversity and inclusion perspective, you are never ever going to have that conversation with a line manager where you say this person will need to work from home all the time or more, and the line manager will never say it's not possible to do your job from home, because we've just had this 1 year experience of where it's utterly different.
Yeah, exactly. And it's changing the mindset to be able to deal with that as well.
Claire, going back on your point earlier, you were talking about this change from selling in-person shows to virtual shows. Yeah. Is there any analogy, any link there with, we saw in the early days of exhibitions, or in my early days, of how you migrate someone from selling stands to selling sponsorship, and stands really easy. It's a 3x2 or whatever it is. There are tangible things that you're selling. Everyone knows what one looks like. Yep. Sponsorship is selling hot air. Are there the likenesses with what we're seeing with the virtual side or not?
I don't think so. I think that the sales teams need to now embrace a new way and be able to visualize or demonstrate those experiences for their exhibitors and customers, because if they can't show what it's going to look like, or if they can't be in those worlds to demonstrate it, it's very, very difficult to do it without the tools. So the organizers or the exhibition companies need to give those skills and tools to their team for them to be able to sell it. We were talking the other day, we attended a whole hybrid. It was the World Indigenous Forum, which was done completely virtually. And people came in from all of the different countries and walked around it. But it would be fantastic for everybody to be able to see how that worked. It would be great to experience that, to be able to, sort of to demonstrate what your virtual booth would look like, or what your virtual marketplace would look like, and how you can interact with your customers if they come into it. And I think if we don't upskill the sales team to be able to do that, then the exhibitors are not going to understand it, and they're going to go, no, if it's virtual, no,
exactly. It's all very well having this wonderful tech and these platforms. They're all there, and they've all been springing up constantly through this time, which maybe have been simmering in the background, but these are things that we're quite privy to from coming from our live event background. We've seen this along the way, but I think it's educating, and that's key, educating the organizers, the exhibitors, to understand that you can still have an event in this world, virtually, but you need to learn how to enjoy it, how to engage, and how to experience it, because it's not automatic. You don't just press a button, like Claire was saying, that the forum that we attended, you press a button and you're in. But if someone doesn't train you, show you how to use everything that's on offer there'll be a lot of opportunities wasted. So, the training element of this new world is really important.
I'm interested about the sales training piece. Chatting with Paul Miller, who's CEO of Questex, and he was saying, there's a big trend in the States at the moment, a big training trend, training salespeople not to sell.
Exactly.
We've had of you can't flash the phone and say, I haven't got anything to sell. And salespeople don't always have the vocab needed to, I'm going to talk to you about nothing. All I'm doing is engaging. If I can sell something to you along the way. Are you seeing that trend happening here in the UK?
Definitely. Let's take a leaf out of the hospitality area. They are way ahead. They are custom engagement all year round. And I know a lot of the exhibition companies have got on board with this and have a customer engagement team, but I think that is now not just going to be the customer engagement team. It should be every single salesperson should be trained in customer engagement. Pick up the phone to your customer, just check in, just to see how they're doing. Not that you're particularly going to sell them something. Tell them about a product. Explain, it's a whole different way. And I agree with exactly what they're saying. It's that non-sales sell. We're invested in you. This is, which is literally how we train. This is what virtual can do for you. This is what hybrid. Yes, the visitor level might not, the show might be smaller, but explaining clearly how the exhibiting companies are investing in all these platforms to be able to deliver the return of investment for that exhibitor. And you've got to train them to take them on that journey.
Yeah, and the training element, the training element of it is teaching how to influence. So the end product of being able to talk to someone about customer service and looking after them, and someone feeling like their hands have been held and that, you know, they're really cared for. The end product can be a sale eventually, but it's understanding the way of communication, and that is something that good training offers. So these are, you know, so there's not the, like you were saying, Ruth, it's not that hard sell training anymore. Sell. It's a very, very different approach, and understanding the person that you're talking to, understanding behaviors. It's gone very much more scientific now, and seeing, oh, this is the reaction I'm getting from this person. This means if I deal with it this way, I might get something. But, you know, so ultimately we will want the sale, but it's definitely a different way of going about it now, and it will be.
So we've talked about what we've seen over the last 12 months. We've talked about sales training and that digital training. Thinking about going forward, and let's say the next 12 to 24 months, what's the early indications that you two are seeing, what companies are looking for, what are the new things they're looking for training?
I would say, well, we work in the public sector as well. So I think, I mean, at the moment, we're very, very busy with getting groups, literally helping people come back to work and communities come back to work. And that's quite interesting, because where you had people that may be anxious and you do this one-to-one, not a therapy. It's not a therapy fix. It's giving people that toolkit, and you've got to give them confidence that they're coming back to the office, that it's going to be safe. There's loads of things around it, but we found in the public sector especially, the team are doing groups of people together, because when you were in the office, you were a community. So why are you just delivering this one-to-one? You know, we do it, you know, maybe 5 or 6 people, not big groups, and sharing those experiences, or their anxious or their fears or what's going to happen. And also really getting on board with the organizations that we're training on what they've done to make sure that it's safe. You know, what is the expectation of that person when they come back to the office, you know, even where they're going to sit, you know, just all that messaging, just make sure it's aligned and people are very, very comfortable with it. And the other thing I think Donna was, you know, talking about earlier is now that if you like, your C-suites and your managers now have got to take on another skill set to manage these people as well. Yeah. And that's something that, well, you know, when you maybe apply
to manage these people, yes, there's extra layers of help needed that perhaps they didn't have before.
Do you think there's some similarity? It was a conversation I was having at the end of last year, and we were talking about getting people back into the workplace, and it felt like there was real similarity between the processes that a lot of companies have in place for getting people back re-engaged after maternity or paternity leave. Yeah. So you're away from the office, you're away from the environment for a long time. Yes. You're coming back in, and we have a process in place. Are there learnings that we can take from that when we begin that onboarding and returning process?
Absolutely. You just used the word onboarding there. I mean, we have a whole program of onboarding, and it's a layered approach. So I think definitely that's something that could be used in the exhibition industry when people have been away, and if they're coming back, you know, to being in person. But they're also still working, you know, part remote or part in person. So it's getting them to feel ready and, you know, be prepared. And I think that's something that you can train.
And I think, also talking about the manager level and how they're managing their teams weekly over Zoom, you know, because it can be quite hard work, and it's still, you know, keeping the momentum, that engagement going. So their work, you know, it's not dropping off, you know, the productivity has to be exactly the same. And that's quite hard when you're working from home, especially if you're homeschooling and there's other distractions coming in. And it's how the management teams manage that in a really considered way.
Actually, that's a fantastic point, because we are, at the moment, we're learning it as we go along. Yeah. And the reality is some organizations will return fully to in-person. some of them will remain fully remote, and and the last year will have given us that stress test of what works and what doesn't. For those organisations where you are managing remotely, I remember I used to run my management team. I was the only person in London. All the other management team were elsewhere in the world, and we would have our board meetings. There'd be 8 managing directors, and it would all be on it wasn't Zoom in those days. It was on what it was called. We were managing those remotely, and we had to learn how to do it. And it was really simple things like, so if you're sitting in a room and you're having a board meeting in a room, if I want to talk, it's an inhalation. It's a but of course that doesn't work when you're remotely. So we used to do post-it notes. And if I want to say something, I've got, if I agree with what you're saying, it's traffic lights. If I agree with what you're saying, I'm going to hold up a green post-it note. So if I'm talking, I can tell the other 7 people actually agree. So there are tools and techniques out there. Actually, we do need to be training managers in how to deal with those.
It's true, and we've actually developed programs which are certified, CPD certified, on how to host events like this, and that goes down to meetings. And obviously we've done it for award ceremonies, dealing with participants, dealing with judges. People are very nervous when they come into this environment. What do you mean I go into a green room? It's not a green room, it's virtual. Yes, but we hold you there and we talk to you and we look after you, and then we'll bring you in. So there's a whole process there, like exactly as you're saying. And ideation sessions you can do it with virtual post-it notes. You can do the same thing, and it's getting people to understand that it can still work.
And everybody, I think, needs that training, because what we won't tell the listeners is, of course, this is our second take, because I forgot to hit the record button. So it happens for anyone, but glossing over that.
There's some really good points last time, but never mind.
The interview was great. I'm really sorry, everyone. We've missed so much stuff. Ladies, that's absolutely brilliant. I think one of the big things that came out for me from what you're saying is about this mindset of wanting to change. And I certainly remember 10 years ago thinking, as we were making that massive, probably a bit further, 15, 20 years, we were making that massive move into digital. You've either got to leave or learn.
Correct.
It's not 2 choices. Actually, we need to be embracing this.
So we all decided to learn.
And that is a mindset change, and not everybody will want to do it.
And it doesn't matter if you don't, but it's you need to be making that decision. And what is interesting is, just from talking to you, there's areas of training that I hadn't even considered we needed to be doing. So my list has got a bit long here. So Donna, Claire, thank you very much indeed. Really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you very much, ladies. Really enjoyed it, and hope to see you soon. Take care.